these are all things I could have found out if
Mhm.
I would have known the significance of that level of due diligence. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this purpose driven investment podcast. Today, I have a special guest to join us, my friend Daniella Devine. She is a business broker who's based in San Francisco Bay Area in California. I'm so excited that she can join us today. How are you doing, Daniella? I am doing great. I'm ready to talk about all the fun things. Yes, I'm so excited to have you. I think I noticed your face maybe like 2 years ago since I joined SubTo, and then you have since pivoted from being just a TC and went on to do so many other amazing things. I'm just curious about how you pivoted because we all started joining community and we started with buy real estate. And before we dive into that, I'd like to introduce you to our audience so they can know you more. Could you give us a little bit introduction of how you started and where you're from, all that basic information? So I just a small correction. I'm not a business broker. I'm a business buyer, and I'll kind of tell you about what I do. So from the San Francisco Bay Area, I'm a third gen entrepreneur, and I've owned and operated businesses for over 15 years. So when I started making more money, I needed a way to depreciate my income. And that is why I joined SubTo. I wanted to learn about creative real estate. I'm in the Bay Area, right? So
Right.
if I had a great K1 from net profit in my business that year, I didn't want to liquidate all of it in one go. I wanted to figure out
Mm.
how to scale the amount of money I was working with. So creative finance was this incredible world where I could learn how not only to buy one property, but I could buy 10. And so the reason why I became a TC was because at that time, I'm sort of an ethnographer. And an ethnographer is somebody that becomes obsessive about subject matter. I'm also risk averse. So I really
Mm.
needed to understand how to transact creative real estate legally across state lines. I needed to understand why something would be a lease option, why it wouldn't be a contract for deed, what a quick claim deed was, what I could do in different states. Lease options are totally different in Texas than they are in the rest of the country. So we, Heather, Rinda, and I decided to start a company, and we partnered and we transacted hundreds of transactions, I think tens of millions of dollars, upwards of $100 million across all three of us in real estate transactions in our first year at the TC Collective. And all of them were creative and they were all over the country. And so I was getting my chop. I was learning how to do this. And I was learning how to do this, what worked, what didn't work, how to work with title agencies, what boundaries look like for different professionals in real estate. And ultimately, I left my business and I really got full bore into this. We started fractional COO services and we started running other people's businesses. And it really taught me and showed me how much more there was to learn about business operations and ownership because I was working in a silo, owning and operating all those years. And it was just a wonderful experience. But at the end of the day, I knew it was a stepping stone. I knew I was doing it to go and move on to my portfolio. And so we worked together for about 2 years. And I mean, we worked our tuchuses off. We built that company. We built an amazing client base. I'm still on such good terms with both girls. They're both my dear friends. And I was able to successfully exit that business. I successfully exited that business as I was moving on to the next thing that I needed to kind of understand risk aversion for myself. And so I didn't want houses. I'm not a house kind of gal. I grew up working at warehouses. So I've always been a commercial real estate gal. But again, I learned how to transact creatively residentially, but I didn't understand commercial real estate. And that felt like a really big gap. So I thought, I'm going to get my license. I'm going to become a commercial broker, and I'm going to help other business owners like me buy, sell, and lease their assets. So I know what a good deal looks like, and I know who to call, and I can cherry pick what I want. And it's been a heck of a ride. Now, through that journey, I just came back to where I started. And I thought to myself, okay, I know how to transact creatively. I know how to work commercial real estate. But at the end of the day, what I really learned after losing 70 grand on my first SubTo was that you have to have active income to feed a beast. The beast is your portfolio. When I first joined SubTo, there's a lot of gurus out there. 10K passive income, 10K passive income. And I realized really quickly that was a bunch of bullshit and it was never going to work for me, especially after I lost $70,000 on one shitty condo. So I was like, oh my God, what if I had had a 100-unit multifamily and that was $700,000? So I started to realize, oh, remember when I first joined real estate and I had that problem where I was making too much money? I need that problem again.
I love how you just dropped that bomb there. I definitely gonna ask you how you lost that $70,000, and I'm so glad you mentioned that because this is a lot I think a lot of people didn't talk about. You see a lot of posts out there, "I made this amount of money, I buy this, no money down, I no equity, all that." But not a lot of people are brave enough to share lesson learned and why they lost a big chunk of money. And there's always lesson learned in every what I call a learning experience. Unfortunately, sometimes some of them are very costly, some of them are not. And I really love your trying to get to know everything attitude in the tiny little detail before you take a risk. I sense that you're pretty similar to how I decided to join top tier TC, not because I want to become a TC. I want to know every single step, how the paper was being pushed through different step, title company, how attorney drive, everything like that. I want to know everything. So I love that you're so detail oriented. I can sense that about you. That's why you jump into TC and that's how you were able to successfully exit it.
You know, it's funny because now as a commercial broker, I have my own TCs and I know when to push and pull title. I won't even talk to the TC. I won't bother them. I'm like, no, I know you know this and I know I have the right to know this. So you need to tell me, which is just, it's wonderful to be able to have authority in what you're doing, even though I don't own $100 million in real estate. Like that's what it's always about for me, Shinyi, is that I am the kind of person that wants to walk the earth with confidence, knowing that I'm showing all my scars and bruises. And like, I
That
will,
is so cool because like I can definitely relate to that because you have the experience to say it with the confidence and say it like you own it. And that's the things that it's really hard to fake unless you've seen it and you've done it. You can say it with the full confidence. And no, like you said, I have the right to know and I know you have access to that information. I need you to share that with me. That is
yeah,
so
I'd
great.
rather be hobbling halfway there with a broken leg and all banged and bruised up and go, actually, I know. I know because I just went through it. It's funny, like I'm still transacting deals as a commercial broker. It's wonderful. In 2025, I bought a car wash. So that was a land business acquisition. And I
Mhm.
also went back and I bought my family's flooring company. And again, like the reason I did that, I went back to what I knew because I knew that owning a business would produce so much dummy active income. I would
Mhm.
have to depreciate it in commercial real estate. And more importantly, this is the most important part, I knew that my businesses needed real estate. So
To
I could,
offset the income, the
yes,
active income from the business.
yes.
Yeah.
So I get to build a really active, healthy business. And then I get to go purchase a piece of commercial real estate every time we want to expand. And I can show the bank I have a tenant in tow.
Right.
It's my business. It's a 46-year-old business. It's a reliable cash flowing business. And I'm going to put a 20-year lease on that building that I just bought. And the bank is going to go secure, let's roll. And I'm going to build my portfolio like that. And so after I lost that 70 grand, I was like, never again, never again. I'm okay with losing money. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I will lose money again. This is the game. But I will not ever be in a position again where I lose money and it affects my day-to-day life because
Right.
that's the point of the business. The business feeds the beast. They don't go without one another. They must operate together. That's the lessons I've learned in the last 3 years.
Cool. Well, let's spend some time to talk about your business, right? So we have to have an active income. I'm totally on board with that because a lot of people made a mistake, start buying a whole bunch of real estate, but they don't have the reserve to take that kind of risk. And it's easier to have active income to kind of insulate you from any turbulence coming to your way. And you can build that enough reserve to allow you to make bigger mistakes. I'm a firm believer on that. How did you end up losing that 70K? Which knucklehead bought you this deal? And what went wrong?
SubTo wholesaler,
Mm-hmm.
whose name I will not mention, said, "This is my backyard. I grew up in this market. I know this market so
So
well."
well. Mm-hmm.
Red flag one, if they don't live there, they don't know it so well.
Yeah.
I don't care what they say because they're not currently living there. And it doesn't matter what it did the last 20 years, it matters what it's doing right now.
Right now.
Second red flag. I am in the Bay Area, right? And I was studying Memphis. Like Tennessee was my market. I had been studying it for 2 years. I was looking to grow in Tennessee. And this was in Bend, Oregon. Granted,
Hmm.
I thought to
Okay.
myself, oh my gosh, it immediately turned personal and emotional. Red flag two. It was like, this is an investment property. It's a second home for my family. We're going to go skiing in the winter when it's empty. It'll be a midterm
Right.
rental, like
I
all
hear
these
that.
fantasies, right? Got emotional. That's a problem. And three, I didn't have a team in that market because it wasn't my market. I didn't know anything about the market.
Mm,
And
you
I
fell in
trust,
love with the deal. It's like, I like
yes,
that.
I
I
fell in
like
love
that
with the deal.
location.
I
Yes.
fell in love with the deal and the opportunity to get into something in the Pacific Northwest at a 3.25 APR in a beautifully renovated neighborhood and a beautifully renovated condo. And it had brand new furniture, design,
Right.
and all this crap, right? It's like I'm painting it with red right now. It's red,
Mhm.
it's red, it's red. It's like, hello, this is not a deal. It's an HOA, no short-term rentals.
Oh.
That's okay, but it minimizes what you can do. So I had to make this work as a midterm rental, and if the backup was long-term rental. And the thought at the time was that I was making so much money that if I had a loss, bless, I had a loss. It's gonna go great,
Right.
right? I wanted a loss. Stupid. So everything went great. I TC'd the deal, clean paperwork, and I go there with my family, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful.
The second home dream, right?
We're, like, on cloud 9. We're like, "We love this place. It's so
Mhm.
gorgeous." It's like the
Yeah.
summer. I have 3 little babies. They're not babies anymore, but I still have 3 very young kids. They're swimming in the river, and oh my god, I had the time of our life. Had great food. We left going like, "I can't believe we did this. Yes!"
Mhm.
Then came the vacancy. I couldn't fill it to save my life. I did SEO. I had it designed. I was on every website. I had studied local rents. I could not get anyone in there. And the mortgage was $3,500 a month. And you
Mm.
had to have the utilities on because if you're from
Right.
rental, everything stays on, and it was an HOA. So every time somebody drove by and the weeds were too long, money. Oh,
Oh,
this
they
doesn't
sent you
look
a
good.
letter.
Every time somebody
Yeah.
called me from the HOA, it would cost me money. And all of the other platforms I was on, everything was costing. And I finally got somebody in there after about 60 days, and they committed to stay for a month. It was a transitionary person that was leaving Sedona, Arizona, bought a house in Bend, making that transition. This is the perfect spot for that.
Right.
Beautiful.
But only a month.
Only a month.
Mm.
And the month was coming to a close, and we're getting ready to have him move out. And at this point, I still cannot get anyone in there. I have no bookings. I mean, we're closing in on mid-December. I bought it in September,
Right.
but I have nothing for the winter. And Bend is a hot spot for skiing.
Yeah, it
I
is
have
a
nothing.
touristy spa. Yeah.
This place was across the street from the country club, and I could not get anyone, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm going, "Oh my god." So I hire a property management company. I'm like, I
Mhm.
can't do this. I don't have time for this shit. Money. And they're handling the tenant turn, and they go, "Did you know this guy had, like, 5 animals?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "He just walked out with a bird cage that's 3 feet tall." And I'm going, "What?" And they're like,
You
"Yeah."
didn't mention that, huh? On the
No,
lease. Nope.
no.
Mhm.
And so come to find
Scary.
out that the flooring, the carpet, they're cleaning it, and the carpet fibers are coming right up into the vacuum. The guy, his dog, dug through the carpet, and then he
Oh.
hot glued carpet back into the into the
Oh
carpet.
my god.
So the place is trashed, and I'm like, "Okay, money." And
Yeah,
I
security deposit wouldn't cover that, and not
no,
enough anyway.
but he
Yeah.
asked for his security deposit back, and I'm like, "You're psychotic. You are not getting a dime from me." So, again, January, no tenants. February, no tenants. I'm in the hole like 50K at this point, and I'm going, "Okay." I start listing it for a long-term rental at
Right.
1,000 less per month. No
Mhm.
bites. I'm
Mhm.
getting tours, but then people are going, "Oh, it looks great," and then ultimately they decide not to rent. And I keep going like, "Oh my god, like, I went there. What is the deal? What is the deal?"
Yeah.
Long story short, I get desperate and I go, "I'm done." I'm pregnant with my 3rd at this time, and I'm like, "I am freaking done, man. I don't need more money for this. Like, I'm done."
Right.
And I
Right.
wasn't talking about this kind of a loss,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I put it up for lease option, break even, no profit,
Mhm.
don't care, dump it,
Mhm.
take it, don't want it.
Right. Right.
I get called from a Bend investor, and she calls me and she goes, "I've been sitting out front of your condo all day long,
Mhm.
and I noticed something strange." Like, "Do tell." And she
Mm.
says, "2 doors down, it looks like a mini multifamily." This was on a very
Okay.
tight court. All of the
Right.
places looked the same. It was an HOA. I never really noticed, like, a small multifamily, like 8 doors. Never really noticed that.
How did everybody's the same. How is that possible?
It's
Yeah.
so strange. It was really well designed so that
Mhm.
you couldn't tell the difference. And she goes, "And I started noticing, like, hotel cleaning carts going door to door." And she's like, "I thought to myself, huh, maybe like luxury student housing, because I also was around
Right.
the corner from the community college." It's like
Okay.
location. And she goes, "And then I noticed a really young girl in spaghetti strap tank top and hot shorts, chain smoking cigarettes in front in the snow." And I was like, "Hmm." She's like, "Then I looked it up and I realized that this was a sober living facility for post-juvenile delinquents. Like, you just got out of juvenile hall
Mm.
as an addict." And she goes,
Okay.
You have 3 young kids. If you were
Yeah.
senior citizens, would you wanna live next door to this facility?
No.
No.
Yeah.
If you had kids, would you wanna live next door? Would anyone wanna live next door? No. And
Yeah.
when I found that out, that's technically a material fact. So I called the agent who sold it to me. It was an EXP agent who owned it,
Mhm.
sold it to me,
Right.
and I'm an EXP commercial agent. I call him and I go, "You knew you left out this material fact. I'm happy to call your designated managing broker in the state of Oregon.
Mhm.
You can't do this." And I'm like, "I have lost my ass on this property. So this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna deed it back to you, and you're gonna take it. I'm not paying next month's mortgage, and guess what? I don't really care if I ruin your credit at this point. I had all the leverage, except for all the money I lost." And he said, "Okay, thank you for being so professional."
So he knew. He didn't even fight about it.
So I
Okay.
hired an attorney, got a quick claim deed. He covered that month's mortgage, didn't spend a dollar more out of my pocket, transferred the property over. And I mean, I probably learned a 20,000 lessons on that.
Mhm.
So many different lessons about how to buy. We think we can buy virtually. We can, but you gotta go to the
You have to go there.
property. You gotta go
Right.
sit there in the morning, sit there in the afternoon, sit there at night and see who is coming and going because it will make or break your tenancy. And it doesn't matter if it's a commercial property or if it's a residential property. For our car wash, my partner sat there for 2 days and he
Mm. Just
randomly walked.
monitor, watch,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He randomly
Taking
walked
a note, who's coming in and out.
and he randomly walked up to people and asked them about their experience at that car wash.
Right.
It made all the difference in the world. And so I just learned so much.
That is so important. I'm so glad you said that because I'm a firm believer of like, yeah, you can definitely buy a house virtually, but I don't want to. The one times when I made the decision, you know what, I can try to step off my comfort zone a little bit to do this remotely, buying the house, sign on seat. That was a big mistake. Luckily, that mistake didn't cause us a huge bill, but I did learn a thing or two. Like for example, there are some things that does not show on the inspection report. The house was infested with German roaches. They're very tiny little sucker. They're just everywhere. And I was surprised that the inspection didn't show up any signs of that. But I went back and looked at it again. It's because the house was distressed. So it's like porterhouse. So a lot of things piled up. So the inspector's not gonna like push things away to check on those tiny little outlet and everything like that. So like they just kind of glance at it and look at it. And ultimately they get paid. This is just one job. They move on to the next job. They're not responsible for anything. So we had to spend months of, exterminating the bill to get the house cleaned up. Since then, I made the decision. Dear, I talked to my husband, we will still buy things out of state, but it has to
Yes.
be within a driving distance from where we live. I would rather spend the day to buy an airline ticket or drive over there to at least lay my
Yep.
eyes on the house, or at least partner with somebody who's truly the boots on the ground in that area. Then they had to be incentivized. Our interests had to be aligned.
I found that another big piece of missing from my due diligence was I really should have called. I didn't even know this existed until I had a problem renting out my place. But there
Mm-hmm.
are specific midterm rental and short-term rental operations companies that exist that are Bend specific. And because Bend is such a touristy place, such a hot spot for traveling nurses, I should have called every
Call
single
them.
one of them and gone, "What do you think of this location? What's the average realistic rent?" Because that was another part of the problem was that Bend had already gone like this, COVID peaked, and was going down
Mm-hmm.
already. I didn't know that. Wholesaler lied to me. He didn't know it either. And it was already oversaturated with short-term rentals and midterm rentals that were way closer to the river and in walking distance of cafes and restaurants where mine was a
Right.
little bit too far removed. So if I was looking to go to Bend, I wouldn't choose my place. I
Yeah,
would
it
choose
goes
one of
from
the
a coaster.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would choose somewhere where I could walk to the river, walk to a brewery, walk to a restaurant. I wouldn't have chosen my place. So these are all things I could have found out if
Mm-hmm.
I would have known the significance of that level of due diligence. And I swear to you, this was after I did all of the PACE courses. It was the emotion. It was the red of the emotion
Right.
that encouraged me to overlook stupid beginner error. It really was.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I totally accept that. At the end of the day, the wholesaler didn't sign the paper, I did.
I have to always correct people when they say failing forward. I'm like, let's not do that. Let's try not to fail. I get like emotional. People say, let's just take action and fail forward. I'm like, no, you don't really want it. You might just like tumbling down and never stand out again. Depends on how big was the loss. You have to
Well,
suffer
failing
through.
forward
Yeah.
could also be reversing 7 years of your life financially.
Right. Right.
So, if you wanna fail forward in ways that you can tolerate. that aren't
Correct.
going to affect your day-to-day life.
Yep. Active income is so important. So let's
Mhm.
talk about how you make your active income nowadays. Like, what do you do? Like, do you do this full time, commercial, as a commercial broker?
I do. So doing commercial deals for other people is the majority of my active income. We haven't pulled anything from our car wash. We've owned it for a year now. We just put in
Mm-hmm.
a tunnel. So we've done a bunch of value add and
Mm-hmm.
doing great, but it's like protect that
Okay.
CapEx or OpEx budget.
Yeah.
And then for my flooring company that I purchased in September, we have experienced more growth than we have over any of the last 4 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And growth is really expensive. One thing I
Right.
never, ever thought to put into underwriting, there's OpEx, there's CapEx,
Mm-hmm.
their growth. And we've grown so quickly, it's costed so much money that I haven't been able to pull any personal funds, nor do I feel comfortable pulling from that business. So it's the commercial brokerage. And I consult with people one-on-one about business buying and commercial real estate. And I have a 60-day, very limited spot, one-to-one business acquisitions coaching program for folks that are like, I really want to buy a business and
Don't know where to start.
how do I
Yeah.
do this? High income W-2 earners, they don't have time. It's not me finding the deal for you. It's not me underwriting the deal for you. It's me building out the framework of how you're going to get through this and not lose your tickets. How you get
Mm-hmm.
funded, how you examine things, and how you look at things that you're going to ignore, like I did on that first investment. You have a 360-degree angle. So that's really my active
Right.
income. But my flooring company, probably in year 2, will surpass my commercial real estate income. That flooring company, something I'll do bolt-ons. I'll roll it up and sell it to private equity. Flooring is a very, very old industry that's mostly
Also, yeah,
older.
recession proof as well.
And it is. I mean, the wonderful thing is that when I feel that we're slower in sales or experiencing a month with lower sales, everywhere I walk needs flooring.
That's very true. So tell us how you found out about these two business, right? I think one is your kind of like your family business, right? The flooring company kind of took over. What made you decide to take that over? Is it from your parents?
Yes. So my grandmother and my father started the flooring company in 1981, and I worked with my father as his partner for over a decade. I
Mhm.
actually had no intention of buying it. I really did not want this business at all. I knew what it took to run this business. I did not want,
Yeah.
and I became his commercial broker. And I had his building that he owns the building that he leases to his business. And that's how I learned this. And I started trying to lease the building. And one day I was touring it to a very young woman. She had just bought a flooring company 2 hours north, but she lived in San Francisco proper. And that's where this building was. And she
Mm.
didn't want to just lease the building. She wanted to buy the business and lease the building because her flooring business in Santa Rosa was doing so well. She's like, we need to take over market share.
Expand. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's when my dad had a come to Jesus moment with me. And he's like, you're really gonna
Let go of this golden goose.
really gonna do that? You sure you wanna do this? Why can she and you can't? And I knew that I couldn't be him because I didn't wanna run the business like him, and I had 3 young kids, and I
Mhm.
needed a partner, and so that was an entire journey of it to itself. Like, the what I have learned and gone through in the last 8 months has been so painful. I don't regret it. I could have never anticipated how hard it was gonna be, and this was a business I knew back to front. So
Did you
when we
have to ended up finding a partner to take over the operation?
I did because I had to step into sales because the
Right.
partner that I brought on to sell after 6 months sold nothing and the
Ah,
business started tanking. So I had to remove a partner and there was
rescue the
just
business. Yeah.
and that was not something I wanted to do or anticipated having to do,
Yeah.
but that's okay. That's exactly the kind of gumption and proactivity that you have to have when you buy a business. And that is why I feel a lot of what I have to share with people is such a drastically different take than Zero Down or Cody Sanchez. It is not finding a unicorn operator. It is not. You are the
Mhm.
unicorn operator.
Get ready to roll out your
You
sleeve, that kind of
you are.
operator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you can find people to support you and
Mhm.
eventually replace you, God willing, it's a gift. But it
Right.
is very hard to get to that place, and that is
Mhm.
why so many of these acquisitions fail.
Mm.
90% of M&A acquisitions fail, and that is a message that Cody doesn't share.
It's a very stunning truth, like, I don't usually hear. How about the car wash? The car wash business, is that a little bit better on the
So much
brighter
easier.
side?
So much easier.
So it's much easier.
Course. That was a wild deal too. So when you have a business and land acquisition, you'll see a broker list it, right? But the thing
Mhm.
is that commercial brokers are licensed to sell the building and the land. Business brokers are licensed to sell the
The
business.
business, yes.
Right. I'm not licensed to advertise my family's flooring company. I
Mhm.
am licensed to represent the sale of the building to the same business buyer. Does
Do
that
you
make
have to Yeah, that makes sense, but I'm just trying to understand. So, do you have to go through like different types of licensing
I do.
process to sell real estate versus business? And
Yes.
have you ever considered, since you're so good at, like, you're running a business anyway, have you thought about getting both?
I
Has
mean,
that
I
crossed
have.
your mind?
I have, but to be honest with you, the energy that it would expend, I don't feel would be worth it. I'm really a
Hmm.
buyer. I'm an operator, true and true.
Right.
And I love deal making in commercial real estate. But most business brokers, again, they don't sell 75% of their listings. And
Mm.
so selling businesses is way harder
Way
than
hard.
selling commercial real estate. And so it's like, what do I want my heart to look like when I wake up every
Mhm.
day? Like how hard does my life have to be?
I hear you. The time and effort and to chase down the deal, the percentage of selling commercial real estate, definitely a bit easier compared to selling commercial business.
Yeah.
Are you able to help everybody nationwide? Is there a certain state that you couldn't do?
I don't really. Utah is a turf state, and so I
Mhm.
don't work out of Utah. I'll refer work to Utah. There's a
You
couple
said the
other.
turf state. What do you mean? Like,
The state of Utah, it's basically like you have to be licensed there. You have to hold a Utah license,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes you even have to live there under certain stipulations.
Hmm.
So I can't transact in Utah. I'm not licensed there. I'm licensed in Idaho and California, but I
Hmm.
can't do deals in most of the Western United States. There's just states that I prefer not to do deals in. Like I don't like to do deals in New York. I'm good.
Okay.
You
I
know,
understand. Yes.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think that for a lot of creative buyers, it's not that they need representation. It's that
Mm-hmm.
they need to understand how to analyze the
Mm-hmm.
property. And the biggest piece that I educate on from personal experience is how to transition it. No one talks to you about the day you close. It's like having your first baby and the hospital's like, bye. And you're going, how do I, where do I, what do I? I've
Mm-hmm.
had so many friends in Owners Club buy their first park and they buy a fully functioning business. And the day they close, they get there and half the staff quits. And guess who has to live there for the next 3 months and run the business?
Yeah, they have to move in. I've heard some
It's like,
story.
I think that there's great education available for different parts of the process, but it's so
Right.
generalized. It's really hard to go, hey, am I prepared? Am I ready? And it's not even
Right.
about always being prepared or ready. You're always going to have to pivot, but at least being aware that these things are a reality and having backup solutions could save so much time and heartache.
Absolutely. I think buying the business is totally different than buying real estate. A lot of more hands-on involvement. You have to rescue the business sometime. The staff might quit. You might have to have boots on the ground there to jump on it as soon as you can. Otherwise, it could just kind of crumble down pretty fast.
We're
Yeah.
really lucky with the car wash that we bought. So the car wash that we bought, I actually bought from a fellow commercial broker that I know within my brokerage. And she had this weird land car wash listing. And I'm going, why did you get to sell a business in land and I can't? So I
Yeah.
call her and I'm like, what is this? She's like, well, it's weird. I'm going,
How
okay.
weird.
She's like, well, the business isn't registered and isn't currently running, but all the FF&E is running. Like people come and get their car washed every day. The owner's really old and they are liquidating their entire portfolio and they were previously renting out this car wash to an auto detailing company and they just rescinded the lease. So people are still showing up to get their car washed. Self-serve car wash so people can. So the owner was having people continuing to use the property without having it registered as a business.
But why don't they register if it's like a profiting business?
He was 80 and done. Like
That's
I'm
the opportunity. That's opportunity for you.
He's selling restaurants,
Hmm.
bars, all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. He was done. And so this business had no P&Ls, no bank statements, no nothing. Huge risk. Huge risk. Cash and credit card only. We had a few
Hmm.
copies of merchant statements. So I started doing due diligence and going, okay, is the FF&E in good condition? We know there's foot traffic. We know there's money coming in. We know it's making money. And my partner went there and was like, open the cash machine and let me verify.
Yeah. Verify every day.
Yeah.
Check the cash machine. Yeah.
Because he was just telling us, well, that's a cash deposit for this. And we're like, but we don't know that.
Hmm.
So we need to verify. I collected 3 to 6 months of utilities so I could see patterns. The whole point was
Right.
if I can't get records, I have to identify patterns.
You have to
Um,
generate a record. That remind me of one underwriting deal, like similar to, I think you could probably see the similarity into it. Like there's mom and pop owner, mobile home park, no receipt whatsoever, a lot of cash business. So we asked them to provide their bank account. And we're like, we don't use bank account, we use like cash. I'm like, okay, how about you open the bank account, start depositing all the check into the account, and then we verify that for a few months to see the trend. Similar to how you did with put the money in on paper and then start seeing the trend to see if
right.
that's profitable.
There's a saying in commercial real estate, time kills all deals. So what I noticed was there were offers coming in on
Mhm.
this all the time, but they were lowballing it. And it was already very low. The reason
Mm,
why it was low
right.
was because there were no records.
Just no
It was
record. Yeah.
functioning business.
Right.
Right. So I thought to myself, oh, people are really trying to get over on this guy. And the broker who I knew was like, he's not budging. He knows what it's
Mhm.
worth. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay. But what he had listed it at was already below what it would have been worth if the records existed. So,
What's the cap rate there? Do you guys even use the same evaluation, like a
oh yeah,
cap rate,
you can
right?
use a cap. I think it was probably in a 9 cap.
Okay.
But if you put everything together and cleaned it up, it was like at a 12. So
That's good. That's good. You have to do forensic accounting, everything built up those.
you want to buy high, you want to sell
Right.
low,
Yeah.
right? And so we verified what we could. He
Mhm.
wanted half seller financing, half it was only $550,000 and he wanted
Mm.
half and half. This should have been over a million for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we raised the private money, family and friends, got a great deal, a built-in extra operational expenses because we didn't know what we didn't know, first-time car
Mhm.
wash operators.
What does the seller financing term look like? Because it's
Mhm.
just the other half is just cash funded by the relative and friends.
So 250K at
Mhm.
6% for 3 years. So
Okay.
pretty easy to refi out of.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
always the
That's good.
concern is,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
one
that's
thing to do
good.
seller finance on a balloon, another thing to know without the shadow of a doubt you can refi out of it. So
Mhm.
we knew we could force appreciation by just registering the business and creating
Right.
valid records. And then we replaced one of the bays with a semi-automatic tunnel, which is increasing about 25 to 30%. And then we took out all cash and put in all card readers, which
Mhm.
also has increased revenue.
And
So
it's self-serve, right? How does it work? They just put the coins in and it just start working itself?
tap your card and it starts counting the time and people do their thing and they take as long as they want. You kind of like pay for what you get.
Wow. That's good because that's good business for people who are like pulling their dirty truck. They might be there like half an hour still washing.
And so,
Just keep
you know,
running.
this is an older community. And a bigger part of this was that, you don't ever want to corner yourself into a particular asset class and just
Mhm.
go, I only buy car washes. Okay. What if the car wash FF&E gets tanked and is worth it's just too expensive to replace. The replacement cost doesn't make sense. What do? You figure out something else to do with the parcel. So as a commercial broker, I looked at the parcel. The parcel is on a hard corner of the only retail corridor in this street, and it's surrounded by national credit tenants. So there's a Jack in the Box next door, there's a Food Max, there's people there that serve
I
state.
see. So you
So
can scrape it in the event you have to sell. Yeah.
and I can ground lease it. I can ground lease it to a national credit tenant and they could build whatever they want there and then I would inherit that building.
Mhm.
So these are things that I know because I do it for other people. That's how I
Right.
learned this. And it made me feel really good about buying that car wash. And we took a risk, but the risk was worth it. And we forced appreciation on it the day we closed by just registering the business.
Mhm. Have you thought about, like, with that in mind, I assume the national credit business, they are just your backup plan in case the
Oh,
car
for sure.
wash wouldn't
Yeah.
work. Is that how you kinda use the land value to serve as a bottom price in the event that you have to rent it out?
I mean, the land value is important. The value of rent is it's calculated in a slightly different way. What I essentially needed to know was, okay, this car wash can generate a top line revenue of $140,000 a year after basic improvements. If I go out and I do fleet subscriptions with businesses, rental car companies,
Right.
trucking companies, I can increase that. But top line revenue is maybe at 140 and we're closing at 90 grand. So I have to get it from 90 grand to 140 grand. Now,
Mhm.
what's the average ground lease on this corridor? And I can find that out by going into Crexie and CoStar, finding the
Mhm.
previous broker, finding all the other places for rent in the area, looking at what they're going price per square foot, and figuring out by doing a voids analysis what's missing, what concept is missing from that corridor. Is it a burger user? Is it a laundry user? Is it
Right.
whatever, medical, pharmacy? And so if I can cover the debt service, the ground lease, and make money, I got a good backup.
Yeah, that's the backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. That's a very innovative thinking. You come in, you know it's gonna make money. It's a quick turnaround to register the business and force the value
Yeah.
out of the
More
purchase.
slowly.
Yeah, that's so smart. And then to be knowledgeable enough that this is something that people are missing out on. People are lowballing the seller, but the value is there, and you just have to rebuild that math to support the purchase.
Yes.
Very cool. Yeah. Thank
So
you for
there's
sharing that.
some investors that want to buy stabilized assets, right? They're like, no, I want the 4 cap. I'm here for the 4 to 5 cap because I know that I'm buying a ground lease. McDonald's is on the ground lease for 30 years and I'm just here for my 5% annual return and it's perfect. That's what I want. And then there's value add investors. So there's things that I will buy value add. One of the things that I will not ever buy value add again is a business. I will never again try to fix and flip a business. The next business I walk into, I will buy fully stabilized because it's not worth it. Real estate, completely different ballgame.
You mentioned about growing a business is expensive. Can you kind of put that into more perspective a little bit for us? And also, you mentioned about the top line revenue. Can you explain what does that mean?
So top line revenue is if every single lever is cranking, how much is it making? What's the total gross revenue? So if I buy it and it's making 85 grand, it needs new card readers. It can have a new tunnel. I can put an ATM machine. I can clean up. There's 2 vacuums that aren't working and I make all the vacuums work. Then all of a sudden my 85K goes to 30. And it looks like top line revenue is 30K unless I can think of another way to increase again. That takes more creativity.
Best case scenario sounds like the revenue on the best case scenario, everything's cranking. That's what you expected to make.
Yes. And so you don't underwrite for top line revenue.
No.
Right? We don't buy on pro forma, never know.
Yeah, that's pro forma. Yes.
Exactly. And so growth is expensive. If I want to get to top line revenue, I have to invest. I need to pay for credit card readers. I need to pay for the vacuums to be fixed, which is going to cause electrical expense. I need to pay for the tunnel installation and the maintenance of the tunnel until it's working perfectly. I need to pay for extra operator hours and installation hours. And so the flooring business is an even better example. My partner did some incredible voodoo magic and started running highly effective ads. And we started getting bombarded with flooring opportunities. Avatar client, great opportunities. We couldn't handle it. What do you need? People. How much do people cost? A lot. And
A
we've got
lot.
else
Yeah.
and more
Labor.
labor. But
Yeah.
the thing that costs the most, capital outlay. So we're in a service-based business. It's not the car wash. You pull it to the car wash, they want a service, they pay for the service, they get the service. You go to Home Depot, you buy lumber, you pay for the lumber, you walk away with the lumber. You
Right.
get a flooring installation. I sell you 50,000 square feet of flooring, 200 grand, and I have to order and pay for all the material to be manufactured. I have to pay for freight. I have to pay sales tax. I have to
Right.
pay random whatever fees. Then I have to pay for the labor to install it. Then I send you an invoice and it's net 30. And some people don't pay in net 30.
Yeah.
I
Wait
have
until 90 days.
You're growing. I'm selling more than I've ever sold. I went from a $100,000 a month to an $800,000 a month as an example. And all of a sudden, I don't have enough money to pay the mills to manufacture the flooring. I don't have enough money to pay for the material and the labor and the lights and the rent and the insurance and GL and workers' comp. We have twice as much flooring installers. So now our workers' comp goes through the roof. It's like, I'm doing more than I've ever done in this company and I'm doggy paddling and I'm drowning half the time because I didn't anticipate how expensive it was going to be to grow. It's not just people, it's just the capital outlay to get to the place where I can bill. Does that make sense?
It totally makes total sense. Like growing, that's why it's expensive to grow. And then it's almost like that experimental phase. You need to support the growth, but you have to dump more cash to
Yeah.
support the growth. Otherwise, it suffocates the business.
Yep. If I could express to you how many days over the last 8 months I have felt completely suffocated. It has been one of the most challenging things I've ever gone through in my life to have the forethought that it's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. We have to keep going. And you're shifting money and you start to borrow bad debt because you're like, I need money. I got to pay the bills. I got to pay the guys. And so you're shifting money from account to credit line to AR factoring, all of these different debt instruments that are terrible. because you're in year one of acquisition
Right.
and none of the big banks were going to lend to you yet. So it's just one of those things where if I would have known, which is why I came out with that 60-day one-to-one program.
Want to buy a more stabilized business now, have to
Oh
go
my
through that
God, so
growth.
I'm never gonna do that again. But you
Yeah,
know what?
yeah.
No, I
Hey,
would have
good
never
learning.
known.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing all that with us. That's so interesting for me to kind of picture that because buying business, everybody make it sound so easy. Just buy a boring business, Main Street business that's just gonna start making money. Put a
No,
manager in there, you're good to go.
no, sister. No.
Yeah, not like
Want to
that,
be
huh?
Satan.
Well, and I'm so excited to get to know you in such a deep level. And then I'm just love your energy, love your non-bullshitting attitude. Like, let
Nope.
me tell you, I've been there, done that. Don't go that. Don't go over
Like,
there.
please don't go down the yellow
Yeah.
brick road. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm still very fortunate. I've learned what I've learned, and I share as much as I can on social media. At the end of the day, there's just some things it takes an hour to explain.
I'm so excited, and I thank you for sharing all the knowledge you have with us, and thank you for sharing your $70,000 very expensive lesson learned. I'm sure everybody can learn from that. Like, just before you take a bigger risk, evaluate your risk tolerance. If you have enough money saved up to take such a risk, and especially for people who are not having a stable income coming in, maybe think again. Like, you partner with somebody who has that kind of capital to allow you to grow and take a risk like that. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for having me on. It's been great.
thank you.